Okay, welcome back to part 3 of the tutorial. In the previous part, on the target bind for frame 5, I made the time 50. In fact, it should have been 2. This is not really important because you won't be doing this exact throw, but for frame 5 for the throw, I'll just get to it. It was the blur frame, and that was only time equals 2. It was the frame after that should be time equals 50, so I just made another target bind with time equals 50 in the same position and frame 5 time equals 2. So that's all of the target binds needed for this state. So now we need to make a change state, and we want to change to the actual throw-in animation now. So what we'll do is, because on the last 2 frames I've looped the second to last frame to make the sort of wind electric effect, whatever it is, and looping a frame gives the whole animation now unlimited time to work with, so you need to make up your own time when you want to change state. So I'm going to give mine like when time is greater than or equal to 150. If I just put when time equals 150, it won't make really much difference, but greater than or equal to allows it to, anywhere after 150 game ticks, then change state. So we want to change to 2002, which is the actual throw-in animation now. So I'll code that in. Okay. State def 12,002, that's our header. Type equals still a standard type throw. Move type equals A. Attacking. Physics still neutral because we need a target bind. No movement velocity wise. Animation 12,002, our throw in animation. Control equals 0. Sprite priority 2. Okay, so we need to now bind the target for each of these animations, but I'm not going to show you how to do that because I already showed you target bind in the previous state. So what I'm going to do is go to my text file, and I'm going to copy and paste the target binds. Okay, now above all of them, what I'm going to do is make a turn on a certain frame. So double click the turn system state controller, and the trigger will be where I've made him. I remember in the last part I said about I made a horizontal frame to flip him the other way at the last few parts of the throws. I'm going to add a state controller so it doesn't make this animation look like that, so it automatically turns, because when you start off in player 1's side like this, and then you throw to player 1's side, which would make you automatically player 2's side now, it would play a turn animation like that. So basically, if you make that animation yourself like that and then add a turn state controller, you won't notice that little glitch. So frame 5 is where I made him turn, so we're going to add the turn state controller there. So once all the target binds are done, we need to add the most important state controller in throws, I personally think, for player 2, which is called, double click the target state controller. And what this does is it tells Mugen what state player 2 is in on a certain trigger. So frame 4 is the release frame, which is that one. I'm going to make player 2 fly in the air, so he's no longer going to be bind to player 1 on this particular frame, but I still need to use a target bind to make sure he throws him at the right position. But what I'll show you what I'll do is, if you look at frame 4 of my target bind, you notice that there's no time, but the position's there, but there's no time, because if I had a time, player 2 won't move, he'll just stay bind to the target. So it's important that if you want to position the throw release frame, then you'll need to make sure that there's no time added. So now we've got the target state controller. In this case, the trigger will be anim equals 4, the release frame, and we want to put the target into state 15,001. I'm just going to save it. So in frame 4, the target will now be in state 15,001, so we'll need to code that in a second. Okay, in my example, I'll just put persistent equals 0, but it's not really needed for this one, but I'll show you what we need persistent for in a minute. So now we need to change state, because that will be the whole move, and player 1 state's coded. So it's basically an anim time equals 0 again. Change back to stance, control equals 1 to give player the control to move again. Okay, so now in state 15,000, which is player 2's get grabbed state, I'm going to make another change anim 2, and we want to change to just checking which number it is. Yeah, the get thrown animation, which I should have done at the start, but it doesn't matter. So it's that animation. We want to change to that animation when player 1 is in state 12,002. But in this case, because you're in player 2's custom state, anything you control in here, if you're referring to player 1, it'll become player 2 now. So change anim 2 when player 2's state number equals 12,002. We want to change to